Self-care is not intuitive. In fact, it goes against many of the things that we have learned about ourselves, things we were raised to believe about work and ourselves in the world. I'm here to change that. I'm here to change the narrative and blow up the self-care box. I'm your host, Desiree Rue, licensed clinical social worker, self-care strategist, freelance writer, a lover, and a fighter. And I'm Self-Care's AF. And this is Self-Care's AF, the podcast. You ask me, and I answer the questions that get you out of the box and into the life that lights you up from the inside out. Hello, hello. How are you? Listen, I am starting this day fully loaded with laughter and joy and appreciating my complete ADHD brain. It's me, it's Desiree. How are you? How's it going? How's the weekend? How's the week? What are you looking forward to? Well, I tell you what, I'm looking forward to this time with you today and looking forward to a wonderful week ahead. I have a friend coming into town. She is one of my very best friends, and she's coming for a visit as her self care, just a little getaway from the East Coast, very short time. But I love when she comes because one, I clean my house. And I kind of only clean up when I'm having company because I can live in the pigsty. Okay. So this causing me to clean up, and we always get together and just chill. When I go to her house, the main things we do is get on the sofa and watch TV for hours, maybe drink some wine, do a little talking. And that's what she's going to do when she comes here, along with maybe a little sun and the extra fun. So it is so important to spend time with people that you care about and that care about you. And I hope you are getting to do that at some point this week. Or if not, you're planning on doing that with just somebody you care about. So I am looking forward to that. And I've had a great week, in case you wanted to know. Been really stretching myself and growing in my business. Doing things I never thought I would do. And I really want to just give a big shout out to being self-care AF because it is literally that which guides me into opportunities and stretching myself and taking risks because it is simply aligned with what I want to do. I am more afraid to not try than I am to try and fail. So that is really one of the results of being completely intentional about myself. And that's my biggest hope for you is that you will, through our time together, learn different ways or change your perspective and move forward with the things that feel uncomfortable for you or even feel impossible for you, that just simply seeking to do the things that are authentically you will move you forward. So let's jump into today. First, we cannot get started without the appropriate thank you. So I would like to thank our self-care hero for today. Our sponsor for this episode, once again, is me. So thank me. I'd like to thank me for believing in me. Okay. I'd like to thank me for investing in myself. Desiree Eats and Travels LLC is the proud sponsor, the proud self-care hero of today's episode. And we are doing some really great things in Desiree Eats and Travels. We're not a travel agency, but Desiree Eats and Travels, or eating and traveling, is all I want to do. And so everything that I do in my business is leading me toward the things that I want to do most. And that's how I came up with the name. And that is really I guess, the crust of our services. So thank you, Desiree Eats and Travels LLC, for believing in me and sponsoring this episode. And you too have an opportunity to be a sponsor, to be a self-care hero, to continue to have this message go out for others so that they too can prevent burnout and live their lives authentically and without guilt. That is the goal. So we are going to jump into some questions. This segment, we're still talking about self care and work life balance. And as I mentioned, work life balance is not something that I endorse. I actually endorse life work balance. Why? Because when we focus on our life, everything that comes out of it flows easily. So instead of trying to figure out how to balance our life around work, we're going to disrupt that entire notion and we're going to talk about how to balance our life so that it impacts our work. Because work life balance is not a benefit to us, it is a benefit to work. So we're gonna life. So one of the questions I've been getting actually questions through email. So thank you to those of you who are submitting those questions. I appreciate it. And I've also been just getting questions in general conversation. So today I'm going to answer two questions. One I got in a conversation, and one that was sent to us. So I'm going to start out with the one that was sent. And so, the writer, the sender prefers to remain anonymous. So I'm gonna say our writer says, recently I took off after not being off for months. When I returned, someone said, "Oh, you're back," and asked why would I take off when things was so busy and all hands were needed. This person wasn't my leader, but I still felt guilty and a little mad. I needed that time off because I was nearing explosion. We've been there, okay? Who have you you've been there. I want to take off again, but I don't want to hear from my coworker again. How do I balance self-care and work-life balance in this case? Well, I think we all can kind of relate to this writer, and thank you very much for submitting this question because again, many of us have experienced just that, where everything in us is saying we need to take off, like we need a minute, we need to walk away from the job, um, and fearing that someone will complain or that we are leaving too much work on others when we do take our time away, or that the culture just doesn't support that. And coming back to comments like, you know, we needed you. And so how do you balance that? Well, one of the ways, I think there are several ways, and it's this is not a one size fits all answer because there are several things that are at play even in just this scenario. So one is your coworkers um ideas about what makes a good coworker. Not everyone is evolved. And I like to say that. Not everyone is evolved in their own self-care journeys. Many people are still live and work within those traditional mindsets. You know, above and beyond is the status quo, and pushing yourself and being there, no matter how you feel, is a badge of honor. And so when people are still kind of operating from that lens, that is the way that they will communicate with you. And I put these, well, I have two sort of definitions for people who are in the workplace. And one is a self care martyr, and one is a self care hater. Now, the self care martyr is the person who 100% believes that the value is in getting the work done, no matter how. As and sacrificing oneself to do so is a badge of honor. You know, I stayed up many hours. I worked so hard. I didn't get any sleep. I didn't take any breaks, and I got the job done. And that person will literally give up their soul for the job. They have given up their soul for the job, and they think that that makes them an excellent person. And anyone who does anything different is not excellent. They're not holding up their ends. They're leaving on time. They are holding their boundaries. They eat their lunch, and so it's like, they're not really hard workers because we've been conditioned to believe that that is what hard work is. And so you have a self care martyr, and oftentimes we fall into martyrdism. Is that a word? Well, you know what I mean. We fall into being martyrs because we were raised to believe that that means that you're a good worker when you really do certain things. And we all want to be good and we want to be rewarded and we want to be appreciated for the things that we do. And sometimes we sacrifice ourselves to do it. And then we have who I call the self-care hater. And in this instance, you are coming up against writer the self-care hater. And the self-care hater is literally a person who hates on someone else's self-care because they're not evolved, because they don't understand it for themselves, so they can't understand it for you. And so haters say things like, it must be nice. Oh, you took off, we really needed you around here. I can't believe that you would take off at a time like this, not considering that you're taking off because you need to, because your body is saying you need to rest, because you feel that it's necessary. So a hater is always gonna hate. You know what the song say? The haters gonna hate. That's what they do. They're very good at it. They're very consistent at it. And so these are some barriers to self-care because similar to what you're asking, like I want to take off again, but I don't want to have to deal with that when I come back. And so my advice to you, how do you balance that? One thing is to understand haters are going to hate, but they hate not because you're doing something wrong. They're hating because they're not evolved yet to understand what you're doing. Being a self-care martyr is not a badge of honor, particularly when it leaves you feeling like you're about to explode. Okay? So, we all have worked at some point on jobs where we love the work and sometimes it means staying up a little later or going in a little earlier because we know that those are the things that needs to get done and but we're not sacrificing ourselves to do it, and there's a difference. So we're not being martyrs. We may we just may be being very passionate and focused in this one thing that we're loving on right now. So one thing is to understand that this person is not evolved, and so because the person isn't evolved, they don't really see you, and it's okay if they don't see you. What you do not want is to not see yourself because someone can't see you. You have to see yourself. What you did probably saved your life. What you did in just those few hours you took off, because there were very few, it was just 8, right? Compared to the amount you needed to take off, may have extended your life. It allowed you to come back ready and stronger and more focused. So, how do you balance it? One, understanding that others may not understand. Okay. And that is something that you have to be willing to deal with. Also, understanding that it is an emotion. When you plan to take off, which is why I always recommend instead of getting to the end and having to take off or calling out sick when you really want a mental health day, when you plan a mental health day before you need it, you're also planning everything up to it. You know that you have a future date on which you're going to be off. You've already planned for it, you put it in advance, and so you begin to work in ensuring that the things that you're responsible for can get done or decisioned or can someone will be able to assist in your stead while you're away. And that's one of the benefits of planning, right? Because you do not have to wait until you are about to explode before you take off. Here's the thing. Burnout is not a it's not something that happens overnight. Burnout is a destination. We get to burnout. We get to burnout from many, many missed opportunities to manage our stress. The definition of burnout is that it's basically a collection of symptoms. It's not just one thing, it's a collection of symptoms that are experienced through chronic workplace stress. Chronic means that it's happening more often than not for an extended period of time that is not successfully managed. So it's not the actual activity or the person's words or even the person's, or even the culture, the toxic culture, it's not the thing that's burning you out. It is your inability to manage that. And that is where, because many of us are self care martyrs and we think that we're just supposed to get it done and not do our job. So, and not take care of ourselves in the process because we don't understand that we are the most important key into everything that we do. So, how do you balance it? How do you balance self care and work life balance in this instance? Understand that they don't understand. Let that not be your criteria for you taking off. Plan your time away. You came back refreshed. You went away and said, "Oh my God, I didn't realize I needed that much rest." And it was just one day. Learn from that and build upon it. You come back and you plan your next day off, not in conjunction with what is needed at work. And listen, I'm not telling you to get fired because Desiree has no job to put you in. But you can be responsible enough to understand, especially if you work in a team, especially if you have people that you can delegate tasks to, and especially if you can make sure things are in place while you are away for your 8 hours or 16 hours or 40 hours, then you can do that in advance. There's a wonderful quote by Maya Angelou, and I don't have it pulled up. And essentially, what Maya Angelou says is this. She says that if we're really honest with ourselves, life can happen without us, right? And so we really should be taking, we can take the time off that we need and be away. Because oftentimes we think that, well, if I'm not there, it's not going to work. Many of you, we work in agencies and organizations with people. And guess what? When a person is off, when a person has been fired, when a person has unfortunately been ill and not been able to return, at not one moment did that cause that organization to stop its programming. Not one time did it close its doors. Not one time was revenue not generated. So the belief that something will crumble or stop because you are not there is a burden and a pressure that you put on yourself because no organization has formed itself to work around one person. And if it has, that is the riskiest business model out there. So balance it by understanding that person may not understand, accepting that. Plan your next trip off. Go ahead and put in for it right now. Because just knowing, research shows that just knowing you have a day off that you set aside, not the one that the government gives us, but the one you chose for yourself, and you get to plan it how you want, can impact your mood and performance in very positive ways. So that's how you can balance it. I hope that you will go ahead and plan that next day off, even if it's a day to just literally sit in your pajamas and watch TV and not have to look at your work phone. Your brain will thank you. Your body will thank you. Your future self will thank you. And your present self will love you for it. So do it. So I hope that helped. Thank you for the question. Please keep the questions coming because we are experiencing so many things at work that we don't really get to really say it out loud, but we think it and we feel it. And the things that we think and we feel really impact our decisions and how we move forward. And we deserve to be okay at work. Even if work doesn't know that they deserve us this way, we deserve it. And so you deserve it, and make sure that you're always okay, even when you're surrounded by people who aren't as evolved as you are. So I hope that that was helpful to you. And again, keep those questions coming because I want to disrupt all this, these unspoken rules, these things that we're living by at work. The way that people are projecting, their needs and desires and limitations on others. We're disrupting the entire narrative. We're rewriting it because we're going to live this life unapologetically and without guilt because it is the way we are designed to be. Joy is our natural state. And we're going to normalize that. At least on my watch, I'm going to be here every week trying to bust it open, disrupt it, tear it up so we can all start throwing it away. So that leads me to my second question that actually it was proposed to me and I almost couldn't answer it. What? You mean somebody asked you a question you couldn't answer and did? And did. Yes, they did. They asked me a question. And I was doing a workshop for a group of realtors. And one of the things that I love about this work is that whenever I go to speak to an organization or department, they always believe that their industry is the hardest industry to have self-care in. And it never fails. I wish I'm gonna start like just literally recording because no matter where I go, they all say the same thing. And I just simply, I say, yes, your job is very stressful, but self-care is possible in those jobs. Um, but it's, getting people there. It's a new conversation, it's a new way of thinking. So they don't always come quickly or always willingly. But it's really funny to me that everybody thinks their job is the job that's the hardest to have self-care in. So as I was presenting, and we got to the end and we were doing questions and answers. Someone asked me, "What do you do for your self-care?" And I was like, "What? What do I do?" And I had to think about it because honestly, my entire life is centered around self-care. So I couldn't answer it because I wanted to say everything and I said, "Well, that's not really like an answer." And then I kind of said that and so they were like, uh, the person was like, "Well, no, like what do you do?" And so in my mind, it's happening. The ADHD is flowing. Okay, all kind of things are coming up at once, and it's settled on. She wants to get maybe some ideas about the things that I had done. So I thought I would answer that question here with you because maybe that's a question that you've had as you've been listening to me and we've been together. What do you do for your self care? Um, and to be honest, everything that I do is intentional and specific and strategic to me in order that I maintain a balance of managing stress, staying in the center and in the core of who I am, so that I am not reactive but remain proactive. And so everything that I do is centered around that. So much so that it is now habit. And oftentimes when we have a habit, you can't describe why you do it because it's so rote. Why do you brush your teeth, a certain way or as fast as you do or as slow as you do? You've been doing it so long, you never really just thought about it. It's just how you brush your teeth. So, how I live my life is self care. So, I thought I would share just simply what I did today since I've been up and it's pretty early in the morning. And so you may think like, what have you done? But everything that I have done to this very moment, including sitting here with you, has been centered around my self-care. So when I woke up this morning, first of all, last night, I went to bed when I was sleepy. Now it's a weekend. We're taping this on a weekend, having a weekend conversation. But I went to bed when I was sleepy and I was sleepy early. And I did not say to myself, "Oh my gosh, it's Saturday night. You should be up. You should be watching twirling around. You should be watching." No, ma'am, no, sir. I was sleepy and my body said it's time to go to bed. And I went to bed. So that's the first thing I did. I started my self-care for today last night. I went to sleep. And I went to bed when I was tired and I slept so well, had great dreams. And I woke up this morning and the very first thing I did was I woke up and I looked outside. And I always look outside the first thing in the morning for a couple of reasons. One, I am living in my dream. I am in a place that, 20 years ago you would not have told me that I would be. That this is I'm living in the place that I chose. And every day that I wake up here, I am so incredibly grateful. I'm so incredibly happy about it. So I woke up and I looked outside and I just look out and I just experience those feelings of, wow, Desiree, look where we are. Right. So I start that conversation with myself as soon as I wake up and open my eyes. And I literally do this every day. And then, I say a little uh, thing of gratitude. I thank God for waking me up and just being here, acknowledging that I am here today. This is so amazing. I'm here today. So that's the first thing that happened this morning. And then I got up and then I reached for my glasses because I sleep with my glasses because I cannot see. You sleep with your glasses too when they're really close. Like, don't play me if you wear glasses. But I sleep with my glasses because I literally can't. I can see, but it's the glasses and then the cell phone. So I usually have my cell phone close because I live on the West Coast and my family's on the East Coast. So I always wake up to a text message or some type of someone has called me because for some reason nobody can subtract three. So they never quite know what time it is. So I wake up, I put my glasses on, I grab my phone. I go through my emails and I just look to see if anything came through. And if something came through that I can push back, I let it go. Then I look at my text message. Sometimes I have a text from my son or people that I really love and really love me. And I'll see those first. And I'll respond to them. And then I will check my money because I like to see where I am, but what I got. I like to see what I got, and I look at my money because I'm working on my relationship with my money. Right? We Everything that we're in is a relationship, and so even with my money, I am growing and learning and understanding where my pain points are with my money and why my mindset is around my money. So I look to see what I have, and I go, "Wow!" Right? I always wanted to be more, and more is needed, but I'm working on appreciating what I have and saying we have this and not seeing the glass half empty, but seeing it half full. So I'm always checking in on my money. I look at my little stocks. Like I probably got like one stock in something, and I'm always trying to see where that's going. So these are all the things like I'm checking in on me. Very first thing. I haven't done anything for anybody else. Everything I've done has been for me. I've had the conversations I've enjoyed. I talk to God first. I talk to my friends and family first. Then I do Wordle. And if you're not familiar with Wordle, Wordle is like this like guessing game created by the New York Times. And a friend got me playing Wordle about a year or so ago. And so I've just been doing that because to stimulate my brain. I'm an older lady. And so I think it's important to start really good habits now before I become an older lady, right? So I play Wordle every day, first thing in the morning. And what I love about Wordle, it's like a guessing game. You have to guess the word, 5 letters, and essentially you get 6 chances to do it, and it's all blank. So you put a word in, and it'll tell you if you got 1 letter or 2 letters correct or none. Most people, I won't say most people because I don't know most people. My friend who I play with, we pretty much play every day. He starts his with very specific words, and some people that's their strategy. They have chosen a word or two that really has a lot of the vowels in it, right? Or so that you start to eliminate and get closer to what the word could be. Because my brain is neurodiverse, like I have ADHD, and I love the way that my brain does not work like anyone else's. And I think this is one of the reasons why I love playing Wordle because I get a kick out of every day I choose a fresh word. To choose the same word to me is like, I don't know, like pulling the little hairs out my head one by one. Like, I can't do the same word every day because I'm not built that way. And I love that about me. And so every morning I wake up and whatever word pops up, or sometimes I just stare at it and a word just creates 5 letters. And I always guess the word, sometimes in 3, sometimes in 4. I think my highest average is on the 4th try. And there are occasions when I'm like, I do not know this word. And I've tried to attempt it 6 times and didn't get it. And that's okay because I love the process of trying. And when I see how close I was or how far, I was like, "Oh, yeah, I was never gonna get that word because I can't even spell. I don't know what that is. I would have never got that," right? But it's just the fact that every day I start with a different word and I guess, because that's to me every day honoring that my brain doesn't work like everyone else's, and I don't try to make it anymore. That I recognize what my own strengths are and I use them. So before I this is like first thing. Then I got up, right? So I got my Wordle. I checked in with my friend, like, "Hey, I got it in 5," because he's always amazed that I always choose a different word and that I really can't do it any other way. And then from there, after I played Wordle, I just got up some more. I took a shower, used like some of my favorite use my favorite shower gel. I have, several of them, and I chose one that I really liked this morning. I changed, took my shower, put on my favorite lotion, and I, got dressed. I changed some plugins because I recognized, like, oh, it's not smelling. The house is not giving the smell. I love Glade plugins. I love to come home to every day and open my door to the smell of vanilla and lavender, and I love it. So I changed my plugins this morning because I love the scent of them. Something about it just changes no matter what I was doing before I came in, coming home to that just immediately changes my mood, and I know this, so I keep them on stock for this. Again, when you start to know yourself, things are just habit. Everything is about keeping me in the center, and I changed my plugins. I turned on an audiobook. I like to listen to books for pleasure because I am always involved in research and doing. And so it is very easy. And I'm a learner. One of the other things I've learned about myself, that learner is one of my strengths, one of my Clifton strengths, right? And so I love learning. So I always have something that I'm reading or a course invested in, or I'm a part of some groups. And I'm always attending, the webinar or jumping on. So reading for pleasure is just that. And so I started my day out listening to my audiobook. And I'm listening to I'm a big James Patterson fan. Like James Patterson, if you are a James Patterson fan, listen, we together. I feel you. I love me some James Patterson, and so I'm reading. And I love the Women's Murder Club. And so he has a new book. Well, it came out in May. I don't know how I missed it. And so I'm listening to that. And I love it, right? And I'm all in. I'm trying to figure out who is doing the crime that Lindsay and Joe and all of them are trying to figure out. I need to know who's behind it. So I'm listening. And so I'm listening to my audiobook, and then it's time to go. I get some water. I'm always choosing a mug or a something that has positive words on it. I only buy things with positive words because words are important to me. Words, no matter if you say them or hear them or read them, they go into your unconscious. So when you are reading, when you have a whole bunch of things around you that have negative connotations, I hate Mondays, I'd rather be fishing, things like that, or which is not negative, but what it does is it fuels you to not be in your present. And I usually buy things that have positive words on them because I'm always trying to feed myself positivity because my goal is not to have to recover. I'm not going to get to the end. I'm not going to get to burnout. And so I grabbed one of my favorite tumblers, which I got from Starbucks during Women's History Month. It was a collab between an African American designer. Her name is Shay Anthony. And I was so excited to know, first of all, to even see these in Starbucks. And I was so excited to see someone else's creativity and dream um, come alive in a brand like Starbucks. Now, listen, you may have your own feelings about Starbucks and the coffee, and I'm certainly not endorsing Starbucks. However, for me, it's a joy to drink out of this tumbler, knowing it's beautiful. It's representative. It brings me joy to just put my water in it and knowing that I supported someone else's dream. So I grabbed this, sprayed my perfume because I'm smelling good, put my good perfume on, and I left out to come to speak with you. And on the way, I played Jill Scott's Golden. That's my jam. That is the theme of my life. And not only did I play it, but I had a mini concert in the car. I sang it as if I was giving Jill, okay? I was giving all my Jill energy today. And I sang all the way to my destination. One of the things I know is that when you actually sing a song out loud, you are actually bringing your those positive endorphins, the things that the same endorphins we get from exercising, those mood enhancing endorphins, we get them through singing out loud. And so, again, very specific, very strategic, and very much on purpose. I sang the song that resonates to me, to my soul, and I sang it out loud. So my mood when I got to my destination here, right now, and talking to you, if you can feel the energy, it's because I came in with it, right? I started our conversation with it because I started my day very intentional about me. So that's what I did for self care, and it's not even noon. So maybe you might think, well, you didn't really do anything, but I did a lot. I did very small things on purpose for me that are now just habit. I'm always choosing what I feel. I know what I feel. I do activities because I know how they're going to be, what they do for my body because I've had the opportunity, because I've done research. And not only that, I have tested tried and true activities that I know that work for me. They may not work for everyone else, but they work for me. And I really want to help you find those same things so that every morning that you wake up, that you enter into a routine that literally just becomes a habit of things that you just do for you to keep you in a good space so that when you go out into the world, whether the world is just in your next room or world is you're traveling or transporting yourself to get there, that every step you take, you're already starting at 100. At 100, you've already given yourself so much. So now that you can go and give out of abundance for the rest of the day. So that's my hope for you. And that's why we're here. And that is what I do for self-care, like everything, anything, whatever I want, whatever makes me feel good, whatever keeps me into the center. Now listen, sometimes I get pulled out. I'm a human being. And stress is relentless. It never lets up. It's in every place. Even in unexpected ways, we're going to encounter stress. The one thing that I love about this self-care AF life is that I have the tools to bring myself back, to manage it. And even when I've allowed stress to stay a little bit longer than normal, right? I've allowed it to get a little bit under my skin when I maybe knew better, or I know immediately what I need to do to turn things around, and I do it. So those are the benefits of living a life that is life, work, balance, focused, because you can manage that stress at work by simply living your life. So I hope today has been helpful. Thank you for coming. I hope today that you find a song to sing. I mean, sang that song, because singing out loud actually helps to improve your mood. Okay. So I hope that you find something small or big to do. Go ahead and look at the calendar. See what day you want to take off in the next month and take it off, whether it be a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday. Pick a day for you. And I look forward to talking with you next time. So thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful day. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate you being here. I hope that today's episode has sparked an idea or challenged a long held belief or just moved the needle a little closer to what you want. Let's stay connected. Visit my website, sign up for my newsletter, hit me up on Instagram at Desi Eats and Travels, and tag me when you are being self-care AF. I appreciate your time. Comment on this episode. You know your thoughts are important in these podcast streets. So like, comment, give me your feedback, and I will see you here again next week.